I'm going to focus back to my favorite part of the show, which is the marketing case studies. So the first one that you're going to focus on has to do a lot about productivity platforms. So go ahead, take it away in case study one.
So, not name any names, but this is a SaaS business. They're very much focused on improving internal comms, project management, and workflow efficiency. For me, it's a really, really good CX B2B case study because it really demonstrates how businesses should always be evolving to the needs and the actual behaviors of their customers. The reality is, this organization were not the first in the market. They were incredibly good and very notable competitors in the space. And each of the competitors and the platforms, they had incredibly unique features and strengths, catering to very different user preferences and organization requirements. So when this SaaS business wanted to come in and create a space for themselves, there wasn't much room really, let's be honest. So they decided, they did quite a bit of research, and they very much realized there's a little bit of space for the SMEs, and they very much focused on some sectors where they really believed that there was a bit more need of collaboration, a bit more need of creativity, and bringing dev specific integrations into play. They absolutely knew they couldn't outspend. They cannot go big into their sales and marketing. They didn't have the team. They were in fact, quite a scale up startup of themselves. So what they took on board is they had to understand their target audience's needs and behaviors better than anybody else. That was really how they were going to make any difference here. So whereas their target audience, they span across many industries, they really wanted to find a sweet spot where let's find something culturally that holds these organizations together. And that was very much the value of efficient communication, collaboration, and streamlined workflows. It was very much that agile thinking, the lean methodologies, bringing companies that were willing or wanting very much to pay to be able to do that. They didn't at the beginning. They really didn't know that much about their target audience. So they spent a lot of time before they actually put pen to paper, before they drew anything. They spent a lot of time looking, interviewing, watching behavior of these people, finding out what really made them tick, what was productivity to them, how within those teams, how do you foster collaboration and how do you simplify? Looking at doing a deep dive into all the competitor sets, what's the strengths of those products and solutions? Where's the weaknesses whenever they went onto a review site? What were people really saying, or into Reddits and subreddits, to find out what people were actually really loving about the competitor set and really not happy. So as I couldn't outspend in marketing and sales, they really did bring CX into the absolute beating heart of the whole go-to-market model and the whole business approach. They were very, very much focused on creating that real fun customer-centric approach and making sure it gives them a position of difference. They were not going to do lookalikes. They were not going to copy everybody else's. They were going to basically find out what works, what doesn't work, and what do people really want, not what they say they want, because that's very often we get so distracted by, we do a focus groups as somebody or multiples tell us they want something, and we go down the crazy rabbit hole of coming up with something because one focus group said it.
Yep. What's the time that it took for them to get that clarity around who they wanted to go after and their go-to-market approach? How long was that?
To my knowledge, it was approximately 18 months to really believe it.
That's a long time. So this is definitely a big company if they had 18 months.
They had 18 months. They played, but they really, this was too much of a competitor set who could absolutely, let's be blunt, wipe the floor of them if they got it wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
So they did it at scale. They did it with a lot of UX methodologies as well. So really observing how people behaved rather than listening to what they said.
Yeah. So tell us too, like it sounds like they made, at first when you started telling this story, it reminded me of the classic tech go-to-market approach, which is we've got this thing, now we need to figure out who to sell it for, right? So all right, we took a step back, we figured out how to sell it. But this sounds deeper than just the marketing side. It sounds like they actually had to change the product features. Is that true?
They did. And the most fascinating thing is they kept that at the very start. How they decided the whole philosophy of the business was, we're going to listen to customer feedback. First, we're going to listen to our competitors' customer feedback because we don't have our own. And then no matter what, the voice of the customer will always dictate what we do from a product, service, revolution, evolution, roadmap. Everything is driven by customer feedback, even now. And they're very, very much an established player in the market. But no matter what they do, however they decide, it is all linked back to, they still spend a lot of their budget listening to customer feedback, getting it, watching the behavior, and really stress testing what tools
Yeah.
need to be done, what integrations. So it's always one step ahead of the customer's needs, always predicting the unmet need and making sure if something doesn't work, if what they thought there was a pain point and they find out when they release it, it's not solving it, they remove it. They are
Yep.
not trying to, it's wonderful because for once there's a company not trying to pigeonhole their product and solution into something. They really are evolving it, which it doesn't really happen that often.
Yeah. Okay, so they know who they are, they change the product, they change the marketing. What happens when they launch? What's the feedback? What's the reaction?
It's slow to begin with because obviously people are very risk adverse, but because they very much knew that SME business, they went into very much the smaller medium, and that's where they found if they could get enough of them, and they were able to actually create a really good referral program, very
Okay.
much encouraging. They tested quite a few different methodologies in order to get that trial of use. And it was very much at the start, there was up to 90 days, if I remember correctly, free trials. There was a lot of support around the onboarding and being given account people to really help us success. Even though that wasn't a paid for service, it was very much, let's find those early adopters within that small to medium, very much medium, get them to be the voice and the advocate. And really, as they move jobs within the industries, they will be the people champion to bring us in as these people mature or as they move to different roles.
Yep. It's interesting. You can also tell I'm gonna make a whole bunch of guesses here. So
I
the
know, and
company
I
has
can
to
never
be
tell you.
yeah, the company has to be well funded if they are playing the long game as opposed to trying to get something, the decision maker in that quarter to do something. So it's great to see the companies that have the luxury to do that.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
don't often get to hear about them.
What's the whole outcome of the case? Where did it go? What were the lessons that were learned?
Basically, one of the top businesses now. Never, it really is. If I said you would know it instantly. There isn't, even within enterprise, it is a common solution that's used. They have played the long game. They have basically very much, although they're a startup, scale up, their idea of growth wasn't rapid pace adoption. It was, we've got to find the product that matches the need and actually get the journey with us and be able to get the loyalty long term. And they have been incredibly successful. The product as it stands still is evolving. I use the product quite frequently, and each time I go on, there's new integrations. They've really developed a whole community around it, very much that community with third-party apps, with seamless integrations, and the support piece as well. So when you're on there, unlike a lot of their competitors, it feels like a whole community as soon as you're on the platform. It's
Yep.
so much more than what it began its life.